Hi everyone, hope you're all doing good. Okay, so this is the third round draw for the 28th edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard Game. For this round, we have nine people left. We had 15 in the one before, and now we have nine left. So it wasn't too bad an elimination rate from the world. It was quite generous last time out, but the nine remaining Lucky Bastards for this third round are Baron von Rattus, Bellatrix, Captain Quebec, our reigning defending, still undisputed champion KK Kombu, Rigno, Shat, me, Stephen Terry. This is the furthest I've gone into the game for ages now. Troz and ex-con Chris. So now that we've reminded ourselves who's in this game, and for the third round, we've got UFC 314, one of the pay-per-view cards. Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopez fighting for the now vacant featherweight title after Ilya Topuria has vacated it to move up to lightweight. And for me, it's a case of obviously Volkanovski's the former very dominant featherweight champion, and I can see him reclaiming his title. And it's very much a case of youth versus experience, which it seems like an odd thing to say because Diego Lopez has actually has more fights than Volkanovski. Volkanovski obviously a bit of a latecomer into MMA from his rugby career, but um, it feels like Volkanovski's been around longer. Diego Lopez's rise to the top has been very recent in comparison. But Volkanovski's experience, given the people he's fought, how many times he's fought them in the featherweight division, I think that experience is going to be a huge factor in determining this one. And Diego Lopez, he's got a chance. He's certainly not without a chance. Obviously, got some very good wins. Brian Ortega, definitely the most notable of them, but. There's no one that Lopez has beaten that Volkanovski hasn't already or couldn't beat, in my opinion. So Volkanovski to reclaim his former featherweight title, in my opinion. That's my prediction for that one. But you're not here to listen to my predictions. You're here to see who you're going to get drawn with within this lucky bastard game. So first up is Baron von Rattus. Let's see who he gets paired with for tomorrow night. And he gets Gene Silver in what for me is one of the most intriguing matchups in the on the card. He's obviously fighting Bryce Mitchell, and Gene Silver's the favourite, understandably, given his absolutely insane year he had last year. 4-0 in the UFC last year, all by knockouts. He's absolutely shot up the featherweight rankings. Um, and yeah, now up against Bryce Mitchell, who obviously got spectacularly knocked out by Josh Emmett, but so that seems to have put a bit of a conception that he's a bit chinny, but he's not. He really isn't when you look into it. He's only ever had two losses, and that was against obviously Emmett and Ilya Taporia. So he's only lost against the elite of the division. Um, Gene Silver, as fast as his rise has been up the division, he hasn't quite faced any of the elite competition. Uh, but this is going to be his first true test in Bryce Mitchell. It's very possible he finds another knockout, and that's really the way he's going to. Um, if he is going to win, that's how it happens. But he's never faced anyone with the submission capabilities of Bryce Mitchell. Um, So that's a very interesting stylistic matchup. It's not impossible that Bryce Mitchell ends up getting a submission. Personally, I've decided to be a little bit cautious in my prediction, but I have gone with Bryce Mitchell for a decision win. Because he's uh also faced another very deadly striker in Edson Barboza, who he also won via a decision against. And comparing the matchups, that's probably the closest comparison I can find between these two fighters. Um, so because of that, I'm going Bryce Mitchell for a decision win, going with the slight underdog, but Gene Silver's definitely got a chance. So I suppose I'm taking a bit of a risk with my pick actually, but this is 50-50 one, I'd say. Right. Okay, so Bellatrix is next to face the wheel. Let's see who Bellatrix gets drawn with. And Bellatrix gets Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. I know I haven't pronounced that one right, and I knew he was going to come up as soon as I saw him uh, come up on the card. It's always the ones with the really long, unpronounceable names that get drawn in this thing, isn't it? But Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, apologise for the mispronunciation of your name. Uh, Obviously, he's fighting Cedricus Damas, and I've got Damas to win by a decision here, and he's not always the most consistent, but his last three wins have all been by decision wins, so he's proven time and again he can go the distance. Always a good sign. As being able to go to distance is one test that a lot of MMA fighters, even in the UFC level, struggle with. So I always quite like it whenever I see a fighter constantly going the distance and having the hand raised at the end of it. Um, Not quite. Damas hasn't quite faced the highest level of opposition, but I suppose the same could be said against Mikhail or Lacey or Mikhail. I'm just going to call him. It's probably easiest. Um, as Burns, and even then, he's struggled with the opposition he has been given. He's lost four of his last five. Um, Three of them have been in a row, and three of those last four losses have been by submission, funnily enough. So that's obviously a massive weakness in his game. Uh, Whether Damas can capitalise on that, maybe we'll see him get a slightly rare submission win, but potentially. But I think it is just a case of whether Damas wins by decision or submission. So I think that's a very, very unfortunate pick there for Bellatrix. So moving on, let's see if the wheel's a little bit kinder to just want to check I'm screen sharing this thing, right? Yeah, good. I'm on the internet page. I thought I wasn't sure if I changed back from the Excel one there. Right. Anyway, so next up is Captain Quebec. Let's see who he gets drawn with. See who's going to be sparring partner tomorrow night. It's close to the edge, but it is Alexander Volkanovski, the former featherweight champion. And yeah, as I said in the Volkan, as I said in the intro for the video, it's I'm expecting him to reclaim his title. He's just probably got the most experience at featherweight or especially elite experience of anyone. Fought Holloway three times, obviously. He's fought Ortega. He's fought yeah Rodriguez. He's fought everyone. Um, and so there's and he's won most of them as well. It's only his only recent losses, remember, are obviously against Tapiria and Islam Makhachev, who are arguably two of the pound for pound best in the sport. Um, so, and I'd say Volkanovski is still one of the pound for pound best in the sports, to be honest, certainly in the top 10 without question. Um, so, yeah, and I think that's a very safe pick, to be honest. Maybe I'm underrating Diego Lopez's chances a little bit, but I don't think Volkanovski's as washed up or over the hill as people say he is. Um, so uh, if Diego Lopez is going to win, probably by KO because that would need to be the best way because he's a very explosive fighter, very exciting fighter to watch, which is, let's be honest, I think that's how he's got into the title position ahead of Mosfar Evelev. And uh, and very fan friendly style compared to Evelev's, but on merit, Evelev should be in this fight instead of him, in my opinion. But and to be honest, I think would pose more of a threat to Volkanovski than Diego Lopez would. So overall, in terms of this game, I think Captain Quebec can be very happy with that. I can fully expect to see him march on to the fourth round. Let's see if the same can be said for our reigning defending Lucky Bastard Game champion, KK Kombu, who's next to learn his fate at the hands of the whip. And I think this might be where his reign comes to an end, as he's also drawn with Mikhail Olisasiuk, uh, who's, again, I apologize for pronunciation or mispronunciation rather. And yeah, I can't lie, I'm struggling to see how he wins against Cedricus Damas. It's just a question of whether Damas goes the distance or whether he's uh or whether he gets submitted. Who knows? Maybe you'd have thought after three submission losses, Alesi would have worked on his sub game, but a bit more improved that. So maybe he has, but Damas is very comfortable taking fight over the distance, and if it's there's no reason to suggest why he wouldn't also take that approach against an opponent who is very beatable, someone that he can certainly beat. Um, there's no real need for him to try and take a potential risk of finishing him. He can just stick to his usual game plan and uh, win on by the scorecards. But as for this, what this means for this game, I think we might be saying goodbye to our reigning defending lucky bastard game champion. Or if he does get through, then he truly is a lucky bastard. But anyway, we move on to Rigno now. Let's see who the wheels got in store for Rigno. And again, I think we can see Rigno going through as he also gets paired up with Alexander Volkanovski. So obviously, along with Captain Quebec, who gets the main eventer. And I'd probably, I haven't actually checked the odds for this fight, to be honest, but I would be surprised if Volkanovski wasn't the favourite. Um, but yeah, as I said, he's just fought everyone. That experience counts for a lot. Even though, as I mentioned, yes, technically he has less fights than Diego Lopez. It's who he's fought in those fights that makes the huge difference. He's fought uh, way more experienced fighters than Lopez has, and Lopez it feels like only what last year almost, or maybe a couple of years ago now that he was on the Contender Series. So his rise has been very meteoric, and as impressive as that is, it does almost feel like he was quite heavily pushed by the UFC PR machine, um, instead of being built up. And I think he's kind of got rushed because of that, and I don't think he's ready for Volkanovski. Um, so that's my take on that one. But long story short, I think Rigno can expect to see the fourth round as well. Now obviously, if Volkanovski does win, that obviously guarantees the fourth round. Um, anyway, so Shat is next to face the wheel. Let's see, will he also get Volkanovski, or will he get a Laziuk, or will he get someone else? And he gets Dan Age. Dan Age there for Shat, and I'm not overly confident on Dan Age to be honest. He's on a two fight losing streak at the moment. Admittedly, those losses are against Lerone Murphy, who won only last week against Josh Emmett, and of course Diego Lopez, who's now fighting for the title or the vacant title anyway. And so that's two losses that have aged very well. All we can really take away from that is that he isn't quite elite level. He's not really going to be challenging for the featherweight title anytime soon, but he's still worthy of a place in the rankings. But one fighter that has looked very impressive coming up the rankings is unfortunately his opponent, Sean Woodson, who's currently riding a 4-fight win streak, with three of those being decision wins, but he did win by knockout um, in his last one, I believe. And the only thing is, this is his first test really in sort of the upper end of the rankings. His opponent's not quite the same level as Dan Ige, so it's could be could be maybe he gets found out a little bit here. So Dan Ige isn't without a chance, but I do still favour Sean Woodson to win by decision. I think this is one of those. There's a lot of youth versus experience type fights on this card, and I think this is another one of those. And this time I'm siding with youth over experience, one of the rarer times, to be honest. But yeah, Danich isn't without a chance, but it would be a great, it would be a very impressive turnaround if he did break that losing streak by beating Sean Woodson. Okay, it's on to me now. Let's see who I get drawn with for this game. Let's see who awaits me. Oh, is that Dan Inge or is Dominic Reyes? Okay, it's Dominic Reyes for me. Um, I'm not really sure if that was better or worse than Dan Inge, to be honest, because I don't really fancy Dominic Reyes either. Um, in fact, as a matter of fact, I've actually got Nikita Krylov by a second round knockout. Um, so is obviously Krylov's on a 3-fight win streak, one decision, one submission, one KO. So very well rounded, very diverse skill set. Um, the only thing I've got going in my favour though is Krylov's last fight. It was 2 years ago, whereas Dominic Reyes, by comparison, has been the more active fighter. And currently riding a 2-fight win streak himself, Anthony Smith and Dustin Jacoby. The only thing that obviously does concern me with Dominic Reyes is he's been knocked out a lot, and that's why I've gone with Nikita Krylov by a knockout, to be honest, because he's shown it a few times again. If you put the pressure on him, if you do get a few good clean shots on Dominic Reyes, he can be stopped. So he's still fighting at a very high level in the light heavyweight division, but he's not quite the same fighter he was, say, uh, sort of 7 to 10 years ago. Not quite the version of Reyes we saw against Dominic. Not quite saying it was against John Jones rather. Um, in the fight he won, by the way. For the record, he lost, but in my opinion, he won. Um, but in any case, I don't think we're seeing that version of Reyes again anytime soon. Um, so not without a chance, but frankly, my option could be a little bit better. Okay, we're down to the last two. So the penultimate one now is Troz. Um, let's see who awaits Troz for this game. And he gets a Nora Canel. Nora Canole, or however you pronounce that. Cool. I mean, if a name has more than like two syllables, just forget it. Nora Cornell. Oh, I probably not even spelled that right neither. It's obviously opening up the cards with Haley Cohen, and it's in my opinion a bit of a toying cost. I've actually gone with Haley Cohen by decision win, but I do believe that Cornell was the favourite for this. And it would make sense because she's had more UFC fights. She's 2-1 in the UFC actually, and trying to bounce back after a loss. But Hayley Cohen, again, also trying to bounce back after her last loss. The only difference is her last fight was the UFC debut. Um, but I suppose the reason I've gone with that is because I'm comparing regional records before coming to the UFC. Hayley Cohen has fought in the LFA Invicta and obviously had a win on a contender series as well before signing with the promotion. And whereas Nora Canel, she's fought in the UAE Warriors, which isn't too bad a promotion, but in terms of its women's divisions, the UAE Warriors women's division certainly can't compete with the likes of Invicta or LFA, in my opinion. Both of which have stronger strawweight or women's bantamweight division rather. But I'm thinking the other one there, wasn't I, with the other women's final? It's a strawweight, but yeah, no, bantamweight rather. Um, no, to be fair, not the UFC's women's bantamweight division's up so much at the moment, to be honest, either. All the best ones are still probably over in the PFL, aren't they? Really tied under contract over there. Um, well, unless Amanda Nunes comes out of retirement, anyway. Anyway, like sidetracks a little bit, but yeah, no, personally, I've gone with Hayley Cohen, but Nora Canel still got at least a 50-50 chance of getting Tros through to the next round, so not too bad. And finally, we have ex-con Chris, who is now going to await his fate with hands to the wheel. We'll find out in a few seconds. And he's also paired with Dan Ish. There's quite a few double ups actually. Not any. There's no head to heads, I don't think, but a couple of double ups: Volkanovski, Dan Inch, and Mikhail Leziuk. Um, but yeah, Shatton's ex-con Chris with Dan Inch there, who as I said, is the toughest test so far for Sean Woodson, but I think it's going to be an uphill battle for him. He'd do very well to get any kind of result out of that one, given the momentum that Woodson's got behind him at the minute. Um, obviously, each does have experience on his side. He's fought better level of opposition throughout his career. He's got more fights under his belt, so he does have experience going for him, and that is no small factor. And whether that's going to entirely decide the fight, I don't think so. But he'll need to use every single second of that experience if he is going to get a win against Sean Woodson, in my humble opinion. Okay, so we just recap the game, recap this round rather. Let's remind ourselves who gets drawn with who. So we have Baron von Rattus with Gene Silver, Bellatrix with Mikhail Laziuk, as is the current defending champion KK Kombu. Captain Quebec with Alexander Volkanovski, as is Rigno. Uh, Shat with Dan Inch, as is Excon Chris. Me, Stephen Terry with Dominic Reyes, and Troz with Nora Cornell. So yeah, as we say, it's interesting there. It's of our nine, we have six split between three fighters. So three double ups with just nine fighters in it. So it'd be interesting to see how that one works out. We could, because of that, we can either expect to see most of the people going through or most of the people going out. Depends how it plays out. Uh, um, so it's interesting to keep an eye on that. Anyway, all that leaves me to say for another week is good luck with your picks on Tapology. Good luck in this game. If you have any bets on this card, good luck with those as well. Try and beat the bookies, always good to see. And we'll see how many of you make it through to the fourth round. But until next time, so long for now.